Hello guys, welcome back. My name is Nathan and today I'm going to be reviewing and discussing the NHL's final 2020 NHL draft rankings, and I'm just going to give you guys a heads up, these are very spicy. And no, I'm not kidding. There is a lot of spiciness in the NHL.com's recent 2020 draft rankings and a lot of different things to dissect. They released their top 10 for the European and North American skaters of the 2020 draft, and today I'm going to be reviewing and giving you guys my initial thoughts. So, what does NHL.com think about the 2020 draft, and who do they see as the best prospects in North America and in Europe? Watch till the end for all the rankings and my opinions, and of course hit that subscribe button if you're new. Now I'm first going to go for the North American top 10 skaters, and then we'll go into the European list, but both lists have some super spicy takes that I want to share with you guys. Now, I'm going to start out by listing the top 10 North American skaters according to NHL Central Scouting, and this is their final rankings of the 2020 draft, so keep that in mind. Coming in number 1, no surprises here, Alexis Lafreniere of the Rimouski Oceanic. At number 2, Quinton Byfield. Number 3, Jamie Drysdale. At number 4, Jake Sanderson of the USDP. Number 5 is Cole Perfetti. Number 6 is Marco Rossi. Number 7 is Jack Quinn. Number 8 is Caden Gooley of Prince Albert. Number 9 is Braden Schneider of the Brandon Wheat Kings. And at number 10, Dawson Mercer of the QMJHL. Now, to give you guys an idea of how different this is compared to their midseason rankings, their midseason rankings was Lafreniere 1, Byfield 2, Drysdale 3, Perfetti number 4, Marco Rossi number 5. But they didn't even have Jake Sanderson in the top 10 just a few months. That list was released in January, just a few months ago, and now Jake Sanderson is apparently the 4th best North American skater, which is definitely an interesting one. But this list is also compiled with guys that I kind of expected to be here. Obviously, you got the top dogs in Lafreniere, Byfield, Drysdale, but Perfetti is still top 5, even above Marco Rossi. But you have guys that I expected to be here, guys like Jack Quinn, Dawson Mercer, who were one of the biggest risers of the last few months. Now, what's most surprising about this top 10 is the amount of defensemen in this list. Now, of course, you got Jamie Drysdale, who was the obvious pick to be in the top 5, I think, for a lot of different people. That's not surprising. But Jake Sanderson being number 4, even as a USA fan, that's still super surprising, but I will take it. But you also have Caden Gooley and Braden Schneider, 2 WHL defensemen, who I don't think are up to that level, but are still pretty good. But you have guys like Caden Gooley above Seth Jarvis, Dawson Mercer, Connor Zary, Dylan Holloway, Jan Mysak. I just don't agree with that opinion, but at the same time, it tells you that those guys are very likely to probably get taken in the top 15 of this draft, and especially when it comes to this week draft being weak with defensemen, that's a position where a couple of those guys could go a lot higher than expected. Now, as we can tell with this top 10, they aren't afraid to move players a long way, because Jake Sanderson went from 11th overall all the way to number 4. But what surprised me is Cole Perfetti still finds himself in the top 5. To me, I think Marco Rossi has proved himself as a better prospect, I think personally, than Cole Perfetti. Offensively, I think he's just more dynamic, creates more of his own chances, and doesn't rely on the power play as much. And defensively, I don't even think there's a competition. Rossi is just so much better in his own end and has so much more effort put into the zone end, I think, too, than a Perfetti. But at the same time, it's not too surprising because they have Perfetti number 4 in the North American skaters, so they obviously like him quite a bit. So even though Jake Sanderson did end up going up, if he didn't, Cole Perfetti would probably still be number 4, just like he was a few months back. And I also noticed that Jack Quinn is very high in this list, but I am glad they didn't take the Craig Button route and put him ahead of Marco Rossi, because I still think that's absolutely insane. But Jack Quinn still finding himself at number 7, very respectable, and just right behind Marco Rossi, the teammates right up against each other. But also, again, the end of that top 10 where you have Gooley, Schneider, Mercer. Mercer went from number 6 in the North American skaters to number 10, and I'm not sure how that really warrants itself. I mean, he wasn't that great after he was traded from Drummondville, but at the same time, he was still adjusting to a new team, and he's still one of the best, most offensively gifted forwards, I think, in this draft. So to put him from number 6 to number 10, I just personally don't agree with. Now there's a couple of guys that I would like to see in this top 10. The one that I think is the most obvious is Seth Jarvis, and even if he was ranked number 11, I still think that's an absolute robbery. He was one of the most dominant, not just WHL players, but draft prospects across the entire draft after the clock turned to 2020. He was just a completely different player, playing so smart, playing so amazingly, and from the games I did end up watching, that did translate. He was just absolutely gifted. To me, I can't see how you put him outside the top 10, especially when it comes to North American skaters. To me, he is a slam dunk pick. And also, I want to give a little bit of a shout out to Dylan Holloway, who's kind of going underrated in this draft, I feel. I think he's a top 15 pick, and although I'm not exactly surprised to see him off the list, he was number 10 in the last midseason rankings, so I wanted to see him get at least a little bit of an honorable mention. But now moving on to the European top 10, and this might even be more spicy than the North American top 10. This is where it gets very interesting in my opinion. Now NHL Central Scouting has Tim Stützle at number 1, followed by Alexander Holtz of Sweden at number 2, Anton Lundell at number 3, Lucas Raymond at number 4, Rodion Mamirov at number 5, Helgi Grans at number 6, John Jason Paterka at number 7, Tapi Niemela at number 8, Noel Gunler at number 9, and Roni Hirvonen at number 10. Now, to give you guys an idea of how much this top 10 has changed from the midseason rankings in January, at number 1, they had Tim Stützle at number 1 in January, followed by Lucas Raymond number 2, Holtz number 3, Lundell number 4, Amirov number 5, Noel Gunler number 6, William Wylander at number 7, Paterka at 8, Myzik at 9, who was in Europe at that point, Niemela number 10, Hirvonen at number 11, and the list goes on and on. But that is a lot of changes. First and foremost, you have Lucas Raymond going down from 2 to 4, Holtz going from 3 to 2, Lundell to 4 to 3, and then you have Noel Gunler who went to 6 to 9, and William Wylander who isn't even in this top 10, who was number 7 just a few months ago. Now there's a few picks that I can nitpick in this one that I would rather have maybe a little bit higher, a little bit lower, but the most confusing thing here is Lucas Raymond. Why is he at number 4? And I don't really understand it, because they raise Alexander Holtz yet drop Lucas Raymond. And I just don't see the reasoning for that, because I think he got better as the season progressed. So I don't know why there was such a change between January and now. I mean, we're just, what, 3 months later? I don't feel like Lucas Raymond did anything bad to hurt his stock. But according to NHL Central Scouting, that says otherwise. Now, Alexander Holtz is also super interesting. The two Swedes are super interesting in this top 10, with Holtz going up to number 2. And I think Holtz had a great SHL season, but I don't think he really proved his doubters wrong when it came to just creating scoring chances and being better defensively. I don't think he really did that all too much, at least improving that in the SHL this year. And I don't know why he would be at number 2 ahead of Lucas Raymond right now. That's just me personally. Now, Anton Lundell going up a spot, I can appreciate. I respect that. And I do see you in NHL Central Scouting, so if I do have to praise anything, I will praise that. And I also want to point out with this top 10 that Helgi Grans goes from number 22 in January to number 6, and I'm not sure if it warranted that big of a jump. I really like Grans, but I'm not sure if he's number 6. At the same time, though, that is a huge jump for a kid like that. But Grans might just be the best Swedish defenseman in this draft, I think. There is a mixture of that between him, Emil Andre, and also you have William Wylander. 3 very solid Swedish defenders, but Grans gets the most attention here, and I think he was also very solid. He played quite a few SHL games and looked not bad whatsoever. So I'm not necessarily surprised with him being in the top 10, but being that high, going from number 22, is kind of insane to me. Now, another situation to keep an eye on is the 2 other Finnish players on this list besides Anton Lundell. You have Tapi Niemela coming in number 8 and Roni Hirvonen coming in at number 10. And both of those players were just outside the top 8. In the last one, Niemela was number 10 in January and Hirvonen was number 11. Both see pretty healthy upgrades in this list. Now, admittedly, I haven't been able to see as much of Niemela as I probably should. I need to get on that. I know, don't roast me in the comments, but right now he's pretty much in that 25 to 30 range for him. Definitely one of the better defensemen, I think, in this draft, but I'm not quite sure if I'm putting him over Noel Gunler, but I can definitely see why at the same time. Then you have Ronnie Hirvonen, who's kind of in the same situation, around that 30 range for me. I'm not as high on him as I used to be, but he's still a pretty solid prospect and can bring a lot in my opinion. And around that 10 to 12 area, I think is pretty much correct for him. Now there's a few less players that I think should be in this top 10 that aren't compared to the North American top 10, but I still wanted to mention them. Of course, Lukas Reichel I think deserves to be in this top 10. I think with the performance he had in the DEL and how smooth he was for the most part, I think he would be in this spot if I had the choice. Also, Marat Kuznetsov, I hope I'm saying that right. One of the more underrated prospects of this draft when it comes to watching NHL. Doesn't seem like the NHL pays too much attention to it. Nikita Kucherov, Igor Shesterkin. Either way, Marat is absolutely fantastic, and I would definitely pick him with a top 25 pick in this draft too. Then you have guys like Zion Nybeck, who I'm a pretty big fan of, Emil Andre, who I think should be around that spot, William Wylander as well. But at the same time, it's not as many guys that I think they're ripping off as a North American list. So it's pretty much accurate. And although I would still trust Bob McKenzie's list, these are just prospect rankings for the NHL.com. It will be interesting to see how accurate these prospect rankings are compared to the actual draft day. Although we don't know when it is going to actually happen, this is their final draft rankings, so don't be surprised, these are pretty accurate on draft day. But that'll be it for today, guys. Thanks so much for watching, y'all. Of course, with this video, make sure you share your thoughts. Let me know down in the comments down below which you agree and disagree with these lists. And also let me know what your lists are for the top North American and European prospects in the 2020 draft. Of course, with this video, if you're stopping by, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and hit that notification bell for more videos just like this one. Of course, with this video also, make sure you get it out there, boys. Share these rankings because the spiciness is level 100. And also click on this card right here to watch all my videos on the 2022 NHL draft so far. My name is Nathan, and I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Goodbye.